All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to talk about the Slovak language, and I promise you, its history is way older, a whole lot richer, and much more central to the entire Slavic world than you probably think. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so we're starting with a pretty huge claim. Get this, the Slovak language is recognized as the mother of all other Slavic languages. Now the crazy part, this wasn't some romantic idea from the 1800s. Nope, this was an Italian scholar, Galeatti Marzio, writing this all the way back in the 15th century. He was working in the court of King Matthias Corvinus, and he saw something really special, something ancient in the language.
So, you gotta ask, right? Really? What on earth would make him say that? I mean, we're talking over 500 years ago. Well, it turns out the clues have been hiding in plain sight this whole time. You just have to know where to look. In the geography, in the history, and yeah, in the words themselves. So, to start piecing this puzzle together, we gotta look at a map. And I don't just mean a political map. We need to look at a linguistic map. Because it turns out Slovakia isn't just plopped down in the geographic center of the Slavic world, its languages too.
And here's the thing, modern linguistics totally backs up what that Italian scholar noticed hundreds of years ago. Think of Slovak as a linguistic hub, a crossroads. It's got these ancient bits and pieces that connect it to Southern Slavic languages, like Croatia, and to Eastern ones, like Russian. But it also has its own unique features you won't find anywhere else. This unique central spot, well, it set the stage for something huge to happen in history.
And when we talk about this history, you've got to understand the scale we're dealing with. We are not just talking about the borders of modern Slovakia. Back in the 9th century, the Slovenské zem, the Slovak land, was enormous. It was a huge territory ruled by seriously powerful kings like Rostislav and Svatopluk. It covered modern-day Moravia and even Pannonia, which is now a big chunk of Hungary. This was a major player in Europe.
Okay, this next piece of evidence is like a stunning bit of linguistic archaeology. A brilliant scholar named Jan Stanislav dug this up. Roman writers, way back in the 1st century, were describing Lake Balaton in Pannonia, and the word they used was pleso. Now, here's the kicker. Among all the Slavic peoples, pleso is a uniquely Slovak word for a lake. That one word, man, it's this incredible ancient link tying the Slovak people directly to that huge territory.
So you've got this powerful kingdom right at the heart of the Slavic world. But to really cement your place, to become a true cultural force, you need something else. You need to take all that spoken language and give it a form. You need to be able to write it down.
And that brings us to the year 863 AD. King Rastovlev makes a move that is literally going to change history forever. He sends out an invitation to two of the most brilliant scholars of the entire era, two brothers from Thessaloniki, Constantine, who you probably know as Cyril, and Methodius. Their mission, should they choose to accept it, come to his kingdom and create a written language for the Slavic people, for everything, scripture, law, poetry, you name it. But wait a minute, you might be thinking, why did they need a whole new alphabet? I mean, you've got Latin, you've got Greek. Couldn't they just, use one of those? It's a great question, and the answer is all about the sounds of the language. You see, Old Slovak was packed with sounds that just didn't exist in Latin or Greek. Think about sounds like ja, cha, sha, or ja. How would you even begin to write a word like jaquium? You can't, not accurately. It would be a mess. Constantine realized right away that trying to shoehorn this language into an existing alphabet just wasn't going to work. They needed a custom-built tool for the job.
And this is where the genius of his invention, the glagolitic alphabet, really shines. Constantine came up with this beautifully simple, revolutionary idea. One sound gets one letter. That's it. Every single distinct sound in the language, what linguists call a phoneme, got its very own unique symbol. The result was a script that was phonetically perfect, way more precise than even Latin or Greek were at the time.
But believe it or not, it gets even cooler. This script wasn't just a technical masterpiece, it was deeply spiritual. Constantine actually built the letters themselves from 3 core Christian symbols: the cross, the circle for eternity, and the triangle for the Holy Trinity. I mean, this wasn't just an alphabet, this was a script with a soul.
So now they have this perfect, meaningful script. The next step was a huge one, taking it to the world stage and getting it officially recognized. And what they pulled off was, well, it was incredible. In all of Europe at the time, there were only 3 official languages recognized by the Church for sacred texts: Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. And now, thanks to this new script,
the language of the Slavics became the fourth official liturgical language in the world.
I mean, think about that. This wasn't just some local decision. They got the official seal of approval from not one, but two different popes, Adrian II and John VIII. That meant their language, and by extension their entire culture, was legitimized by the highest authority in the Western world. This was, in fact, the very first time any Slavic language was officially codified.
And this whole mission, this incredible effort, is really summed up by a core belief that Constantine held. He once said, "All nations are naked without books." He understood that for a people to have a real identity, they needed their own books, their own literature, all written in their own voice.
Okay, so now we're going to hit the fast-forward button. We're jumping forward almost 1,000 years. After centuries of political change and foreign rule, a new movement begins to stir. It's the age of national revivals across Europe, and it's time to bring the Slovak literary language into the modern era.
So this timeline really puts the whole epic journey into perspective. You've got that incredible first codification way back in 863. Then, for centuries, the language evolves. By the time we get to the late 1700s, people are asking, okay, what should modern Standard Slovak actually be? The first big answer comes from Anton Bernalak in 1787, but the one that really sticks comes later, from Ludovít Štúr in 1843. His version becomes the foundation for the language spoken today.
So you've got these two giants, Bernalak and Štúr, and they had different game plans. Bernalak, he made a pretty logical choice. He based his version on the Western Slovak dialect, because that's what the educated folks in the cultural center of Trnava were speaking. And he did crucial work. He built the bridge. But then came Štúr, and he had a different idea. He argued that the real heart of the language was in the central dialect, the one spoken around the Tatra Mountains. He felt it was purer, more authentic, and just more Slovak. In the end, Štúr's vision is the one that won the day.
And here is a just beautiful piece of historical poetry. Štúr and his followers, they didn't just pick a random Tuesday to make this monumental decision. They chose a very specific date, February 14th, 1843. And why that day? Because it was the anniversary of the death of Saint Cyril himself, almost 1,000 years to the day later. They truly saw themselves as the heirs to his legacy, as the ones who would finish the work he started.
It's his deep, powerful connection to history, to a specific place, and to the language itself that really defines this whole story, and you can still feel it in Slovakia today.
You know, there's this Latin idea, genius loci, the spirit of a place. And for the Slovak language, there's no question what that place is. It's Devon Castle. This is where it all began. It's where King Rostovlav ruled from. It's where Cyril and Methodius likely set up their school, where those first Slavic letters were ever written down. And then, 1,000 years later, it's the same spot where Štúr and his generation went to pledge their lives to the nation. It's more than a castle. It's the cradle of their literacy.
Which brings us back to the great linguist Jan Stanislav. Looking back at that decision to choose the central dialect, he said it wasn't just a smart choice. He said the genius of the nation showed the right way. It was as if the collective spirit of the people instinctively knew the right path, the one that would unify them and connect the modern language right back to its ancient heart.
And that really leaves us with one big question to think about, doesn't it? The story of Slovak really shows that a language is so much more than just a bunch of words. It's a living archive, it's a historical map, it's a statement of who you are, carrying 1,000 years of history in every conversation. So, how much of a nation's soul is really hiding in its language?